Byron Spurrell. Love when you come by. Byron, of course, I like to remind people, was the co-captain of Notre Dame's Fighting Irish football team. So if you have any questions about that, you can direct that to him later as well. Also, though, he happens to be in charge of a lot of stuff for the NBA, and one of his roles is to oversee the evaluation, the training of league officials, game officials. The biggest rule change for this season does involve that coach's challenge. We just watched Mike D'Antoni. He was very proud. He got to make the first one, inaugural coach's challenge.
We know Coach D'Antoni's a trendsetter, right?
Exactly. He's an innovator. There was also a challenge from Richard Jefferson's old college roommate, Luke Walton, earlier today in India. What are your expectations of how much coaches are going to use this? Because 2 games, they've got 2 coaches challenges, 3 actually coaches challenges.
It's a great question, Rachel. And first off, it's a 1-year trial and test. And so we had tested in the G League. For the NBA, it's the first year and just a 1-year trial. So we're not sure how much the coaches will use it. We hope it will be a tool that they can use to get a call right, that they feel like they really want to challenge. That's fine. And they get 1.
Right. So, important.
So critically in terms, it's interesting. In those 2 games, it was used in the second quarter. So, but again, Coach D'Antoni and Coach Walton were just testing it out. But that's exactly what we want. And from the competition committee standpoint, which really, kind of worked with us to do this, we want to monitor how it goes all season and then see where we end up. But we feel good about it. We think there's a fan element here, too.
Of course, right? I mean, it's what people love about it being used in the NFL as well.
What would you guys consider a success from this rule after this year is done?
Yeah, we saw it overturned a fair amount, meaning in the G League. And that gave us some promise that if we tried it out in the NBA, then we do want to see calls getting right. Right. We want to get the call right. And so that aspect of it, we hope we'll see some of the data and we'll track some of it. But ultimately, to get the call right, for the coaches to be comfortable using it as a tool and strategically as a tool. And I say, there's a fan element, too, that, kind of the intrigue of how the challenge would go, et cetera.
What about pace of play? We're going to look at, we're going to have flagrant fouls that are going to be reviewed. We're going to look at plays in the last 2 minutes. And now you're adding another element of the game that might take another minute or 2 to be reviewed. And it could be a crucial play, so you want to make sure you get it right. But now you're looking at, we're just expanding how much can be reviewed. And now the game and the flow of a game over a long period of time, you can add a lot to a game just by flagrant fouls, reviewing out of bounds last 2 minutes, and all the things that go. Are you guys worried about that?
Well, 2 things there, Richard. One, that's why we give them 1 per game. You don't want to go on and on. So 1 per game. If it's successful, then you keep your time out. But 1 challenge per game. And then to the other side of it, you're right. The game flow and pace of play is really good right now. We went back 2 years. We went to the game flow changes that we made, which were very helpful to the game. Game length ended up being about going from 215 to 210. Last year, when we incorporated some of the freedom of movement, there were more fouls, so it went back up to 212. So we always monitor that. So we're going to be very closely monitoring how this will impact game flow and game size.
That offensive rebound shot clock change is my favorite one. I love that.
Again, you got to have the balance of what helps, right? The courtside administrator, we think will. This year, we think will help to move things along, too.
Amen. That was my big thing. Just having someone on site whose whole job is just to
keep it moving.
Let's go. The other big news over the offseason, of course, was the focus on traveling for officials this season. Can you please explain to us, I want to know what's changed and how it might impact players. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe James Harden, I don't know.
Well, the big thing there was kind of a 3-pronged approach. We really wanted to clarify the rule and the language. And folks had been using, particularly our referees, had been using the concept of the gather, but it wasn't officially in the rule book. So we've incorporated it into the rule book, doing the second prong of a lot of education and development in terms of how we're going in communication about the traveling rule and what it means to gather plus the 2 steps. And then third, there's the enforcement. So our referees need to really consistently enforce the rule now. And so some will be illegal steps and some will be legal, but they're going to be very focused on it. And like last year with freedom of movement, early in the season, you'll probably see a few more travels called observable travels. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Here again, we're going to monitor with the competition committee like we did freedom of movement.
Right. Yeah, so we talked a little bit earlier about like the hop step that players were using in like the early 2000s, where it was like a hop versus a gather and a 1-2.
Right.
Is it difficult to have to be reactive, right? So everyone's looking at this. You see this play here.
Richard went down a YouTube rabbit hole this morning. He heard Byron was coming, and he was like, wait,
you have the gather and then to a 1-2, right? And then like you're going to see a Bron here run where it was, and you see their whole bench is saying it's a travel, right? So you see the whole section is like all the Celtics bench is like that's a travel.
But Richard, right there. To your point, it's when the gather occurs, and then it's the step 1-2, or in Bron's case, a jump stop and up. So As long as that, is it easy to determine all the time? No, but the observable travels we want to get. And so when there's 3 steps, when there's, questionable ones, we're going to try to get more of those more consistently. So you got a great point there.
It never affected my game because I wasn't that good. But for the players that have the ability.
I thought you were going to say that you never traveled, which I was saying somebody who was there courtside with you quite a bit.
Why do you think it took so long for you guys to codify what a gather was?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, there's so many things that evolve, to Richard's point, that you want to stay ahead of it, but sometimes you have to catch up as well. And I think with freedom of movement last year, all the wraps and holes, we caught up to that. And that gave us a good precedent to now catch up with the next thing. So Adam was really clear. Let's focus on traveling. Let's get this done. So we're hopeful what it'll bring this season.
It's one of my favorite things about the NBA is that you guys as a league office definitely listen to what fans are talking about. You want to be reactive while keeping the integrity of the game. It's not just like up in a tower, these are our rules, how dare anyone question us. Right. I did want to ask you about another change about the coaches submitting their lineups now, 30 minutes in advance. Obviously, they still have an out if someone gets injured during warm-ups. Obviously, it can change. But why did you guys make that change at all?
Yeah, I mean, the other directive from Adam is all about transparency, right? So a lot of times when the teams were actually doing it 10 minutes before for media fans and bettors, et cetera.
There we go. There's the magic word.
It's a window of time that we wanted to increase for basically transparency efforts. And, teams right now have been fine. In fact, in practice, most teams were doing it even in under 10 minutes.
Right.
They were doing it well before. And so we kind of wanted to get consistent with that, too, as things evolve. So I think we're in a good place there. Here again, we'll monitor and see where we go. But that's the move from 10 to 30.
The league signed, I believe, its 4th betting partner this week, so I'm sure all of them are very happy with this decision. We are very happy that you came by to see us. Please come back again.
I will.
Always
Thank you.
So much
Thanks
fun.
for having me.
He's wearing the ring. He's got the hardware. We cannot wait for the season to
It'll be a
start.
fun season.
We'll be right back after this break. You guys stay with us.
Can he leave?
Minutes into Washington's game 2, she was diagnosed with a herniated disc, and the Mystics say they'll know more pregame on Saturday. Can the Mystics win without her? I mean,
she's the league MVP. You're saying can the team lose the MVP of the league and still win? I'm going to say no.
Didn't work
for the Warriors.
Right, I was going to say
Warriors.
didn't work in the NBA to lose their Finals MVP. It's going to be tough. And boy, I mentioned it in the promo. Jonquel Jones.
You got one game.
The NBA is cracking down on player heights. We now have Zion Williamson's official height, 6'6", according to the Athletic. Zion listed at 6'7" by the Pelicans last season at Duke. Richard, how much did NBA teams lie about player height when you were around?
It doesn't matter. These things.
That's not the question. That is not the question, Richard.
Well, how much did they lie? It does. This is what
how tall are you?
I'm 6'6" and 3/4 barefoot.
What did you say on your
6'7"?
roster?
I said I was 6'7". And look, I'll tell you what, when we jump, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter. When he jumps in the air, it doesn't matter if he's 6'9" or 6'2". If he finishes, he can finish.
This is secretly, do you think KD is letting people measure him? Because remember, he's over 7 feet, but he doesn't want anyone to say it?
Yeah, it's 6'13".
I don't know. Maybe he's injured. He said.
Kevin Garnett was the first one to do that, right?
Under-report. This just in at the buzzer. Joel Embiid telling me at Media Day he's going to chill on the trash talking, just focus on the game. Look, I don't know how much he's going to trash talk his opponents, but he's already trash talking members of the 76ers staff. Roy Hibbert has come in, player development, and Embiid said, I've been busting his ass.
Can we just throw that on there on daytime TV?
Are we allowed to say ass?
We're on
Disney.
cable. It's in a quote. You don't say it. It's in a quote.
So we're not allowed to say ass.
This is a family ABC, Disney, ESPN network.
So as long as kids can't read that, they're fine. As long as the kids can't.
It's all good.
Mr. Iger's going to
also, in that interview,
Mr. Iger wants to talk to you after this.
Joel talked about how much he missed Jimmy.
Yes.
Jimmy responded today down in Miami and said that he very much misses being with Joel and said that he believes Joel's the best player in the league. Yes? No? Okay. Richard and I have to hop on flights to China this weekend. The jump is going to be